All right, what's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Revolution. We're gonna get the breakdown of the Chillin with Danny Koo session. Let's start out with the positives of the Chillin with Danny Koo session. Number one, having the content creator core and players, I think it made the video a lot more personable and a little bit more enjoyable to watch. Understanding that, you know, there's going to be a lot of probably topics and conversations that are off key, but I thought the interaction between Danny, Wolverthor, and the other content creators was a lot more enjoyable than, you know, with the game devs, which unfortunately is a bad thing as well. I mean, there was definitely more chemistry there, and understanding that these guys have a better understanding of how the game plays, what we, the community, are going through, experiencing, what we want to see, what we don't want to see, what we feel is working, what we don't feel is working. Now, moving along, there are some things inside here that are definitely, like, I think one, I can't remember which of the content creators are actually joining in here. Let me skip past some of this stuff. They do mention inside here, you know, essentially that a lot of times I think a lot of people think of the things that are being said as simply negative, and they're really not negative. It's just, it's passion, you know, like we're essentially looking down the barrel at, you know, passionate players who feel very passionate about an IP space that they want to see succeed. And if we don't see it succeeding the way we believe that it could, you know, then we develop some kind of feelings about this. So I think that's basically where we're at with the game. You know, like right now, did I feel that this interaction or this video gave us any groundbreaking news? No, I didn't. Matter of fact, I think it gave us some negative things more than it gave us positive things, and most people on this channel are probably familiar with that mostly. But let's jump in here. Let's talk about some stuff.
Fala, jogadores.
This dude was funny.
So, okay, let's start by introduction. Wolverthor.
Yeah, so I know Wolverthor. I do not know these two content creators.
I'm Wolverthor. I make some content for Marvel Future Revolution. I am a father of two.
Don't worry, I'm not going to keep you here for the whole entire video. I'm going to skip to some of the parts so that way you guys get some things going. It was nice to see Wolverthor with an actual background instead of his digital backgrounds. That actually looks a lot better, Wolverthor. So I wish you would keep this instead of whatever his previous digi background setup with the fires were, because this looks really good.
Happily married. I have two little boys, one of which is watching, so hello, Landon. I am a big fan of Marvel, obviously. I also create, probably steak in that case.
Straight from Brazil here to talk to you guys about Marvel, everything about Marvel.
Bom dia, bom dia.
Revolution, of course, and
all right, so skipping past all of this stuff where we got the introductions and stuff like that, I'm not going to remember most of their names anyways, just because I don't, unless that I follow their channels, and I don't necessarily follow these channels.
You can't get past, you know, level 10 out of 20. Like, this is really hard. We have to work together. I really enjoyed the graphic that you put together where it's, so someone even brought up to me, hey, they flipped the words. And I was like, no, this is going to be so difficult. We're going to be arguing about getting out of the red stuff. And I'm actually looking forward to that. I think
so. This is the very first things that they bring up here is the Alliance Raid mode. So let's talk about the Alliance Raid. Like I said, if you have not seen this content before, then you can go see this content in a game like DC Legends. This is not new content. I hate to say that. This is not like something that they had to, like, fucking, I don't know, you know, like it came from somewhere out of nowhere. Some brainchild thought of this idea. DC Legends hosts this content quite a bit on their mobile platform game, and basically it's the same thing. The problems with it are typically that the alliances start to collapse. Because people are going to try to get on some of the more stronger alliances, especially to be able to play the mode. It's definitely going to increase the requirements for players to be able to join in. And one of the things that you're basically essentially looking down at right here with the mode is that at the lowest levels you get 4 players. At the top levels you get 16 players. So it's going to be one of those modes where it's like, you know, okay, well, when we get to the top level, we're 16 players. Well, you're going to kind of fall into, you know, cliques, because even with 50 players, there's going to be cliques that's going to form inside alliances. So you hope that there's something there that's going to incentivize more than just the top 16 players or the top clique of the alliance to get in here. Otherwise, there's going to be people even in alliances that are going to fall out of being able to have access and playtime with these I mean, now granted, the odds of some of these alliances beating the bosses in one fell swoop of 16 players,
all your alliance members,
probably not that great.
3 bosses.
Now, here goes the problem that I find with the Alliance that they never really address. Wolverthor brings it up later on in the video, and they start talking about playing characters and being able to use multiple characters on your squad. But they never really went into it, and was one of those things that's like, yo, if you guys are going to talk about it, really go into it. There is not a means for players inside this game, due to the monetization and resource requirements and the effort and time, to level up multiple characters in this game. You just don't have the ability. If you want your main character to stay at the forefront of content, you can't be using resources that you acquire to level up character B, C, and D. It's just not possible. You know what I mean? Not in this game, because they haven't monetized it in such a way that it's feasible for you to, unless you're just an in-game whale. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not possible. So when they talk about it, I thought that the gameplay looked very interesting. I mean, in terms of what Danny was talking about, you know, having certain things, but essentially what you're down here with is another reskin of the raid mode in the first place. Basically, it's a DPS mode for you to deal damage to the character. So if you play if you go in and you do your 4, and then somebody else comes in, they do their 4, it's all accumulative for your squad. So it's not like going to be a limitation for you to be like, oh, you know what, we're on first level, I did my 4, now I can jump in with another 4 because I got my 1 character per day. So I think most players are going to be limited and what they're going to be able to do when they're going to be able to go in and do them. You know, you might end up using whatever secondary, third characters you have built up, though I doubt a lot of us have second and third characters built up that are going to necessarily meet the requirements for here. Like you can see, these guys are playing with their main characters is fully geared, but there's just not a lot there in terms of, like, you know, you're going to be able to complete the full on damage onslaught. So more than likely it's going to be, I did my 4, somebody else is going to have to come and do their 4, we'll roll into the new boss, and then somebody else gets to do their 4. This is going to require players to build up multiple rosters, because even if you have 16 or 10 strong players in your alliance, they're not going to be able to use those really strong characters over and over again. And this is going to either die a painful death, because players are going to realize really quickly the monetization effort that goes into leveling up multiple characters across the board, or how it will skew your main character from reaching heights and levels that are needed for you to engage in, like, invasion mode. Because remember, at the same time that you have invasion mode, you're looking at your character getting to 1.7 million power so you can compete inside world boss invasion, right? Because that's where the most momentum badges are coming from anyways inside the game. Well, guess what? How am I going to get my character to 1.7 million if I'm divvying out resources for costumes across 5-6 characters, 8 characters? It just doesn't work. The resource requirements here doesn't make sense. So we'll have to see how it works out, but ultimately they've got 3 initial players. We're fighting off on two Thanoses, a Dormammu, and then a Laufey, you know, and then those levels will go up. Now, this is the interesting part, is that you notice here where they have like the clear levels, and you can see what the rewards are here. So we've got some tokens, like there's 5,000 tokens there, 4,000 tokens, and you can see some gold. The gold rewards look generous, they look nice. The rewards that popped up for individual achievement, I was like, I hope these aren't the in clear rewards, because to be honest with you, for the time and effort that they're asking us to put in here, because remember, you're weighting the value of players leveling up multiple squad people in here Meaning, I'm gonna have like, of my 8 characters, maybe I've got 3 or 4 characters that can compete inside this. You're looking at those characters basically jumping in here, right, and competing this stuff. Well, the really sad part about that is that these rewards don't equate to that. Meaning the amount of time, effort, and monetization that they put in there for you is just not there. Now, granted, this is a new PvE mode that really requires some cooperation, so it will be fun to jump in with Alliance members and have something new to do on a daily basis that actually requires you to play with your Alliance and kind of, create a community within your Alliance. I think X-Force has a pretty good community. We do chat fairly often inside there, and even some of us have started playing other games as well. I've been really involved in Elden Ring, so I haven't even been playing games like my Lost Ark or Marvel Future Revolution very much. They talked about Moon Knight, but we hadn't really had a lot of information about Moon Knight in here, and Danny seemed very dry on everything that was coming with Moon Knight, whether it's how many things, how his skill set was going to work, what time and limit that he was going to sit here. So why even talk about it? It just doesn't really make sense to, don't talk about something if you don't have all the information, is basically what I'm saying. Like, it's all subject to change. I'm tired of hearing subject to change. Like, it's really sucky. They did talk about the new squad battle, not the squad battle, but the new sparring mode inside here. And the guy over here from Brazil, he brought up a very interesting point, and it was one of the points inside the video where I was like, Jesus Christ, like, let's really talk about it. He was basically saying, like, what we need inside this game is a non-geared PvP mode. We realistically want a non-geared PvP mode, meaning strip away the cards, strip away the uniforms, and let it just be born down to your skill set with your characters. It's something that we need. Now, why nobody... He was pushing it very hard. He was talking about it. I enjoyed the way he was bantering about it, because it basically brought up the desire that's just there. And he talked about, having some kind of tournaments formulated around this mode, so that way, those limitations and restrictions and stuff like that were put on it, so that way maybe if you set up your own individual tournament, this would be good, because you could be like, okay, I'm going to set up a tournament or Mega Flight. We're all going to do this. You all have to play and participate in this way. It would be cool to see that. Like, I think that was a really good idea. Kudos to this guy for bringing it up. But we didn't push Danny on it in terms of, well, I guess Danny's not the person to push. Why? It is the content creator core thinking about this, and they haven't thought about it when Netmarble already has, 7 Deadly Sins, where this is implemented, and they have a non-gear PvP mode. I don't know why they don't have that there. Like, this should have been something that was immediately thought about. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. My internet connection is just dying on me today.
So in theory, you and I could play against each other.
So the one limitation to this new sparring battle system is that you can't do players across servers. So you're limited to your server. So that part kind of sucks, because there's going to be players that you want to play with on different servers and stuff like that to do those things. So it'd be cool to see them have cross battle. So for instance, when I was playing Bleach 3D, they already had this setup where it was cross-play, so you can do your normal server to server, your normal in-server, your cross-server, and then your cross-worlds, I think it was, or something like that. Why this is something that's not been implemented already in a game like this, where we went servers, it makes no sense to me. The player base is probably low enough that they could host most of this stuff on the individual servers in themselves, so I'm a little fuzzy on that, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying, guys? It is what it is. I don't know that I'm really necessarily amped about it in any great sort of way to have spar battles. I don't do PvP, and I think most of the guys that they had on the panel, funnily enough, they don't fucking PvP either. So, like, I think is one of the things. But PvP is typically a way to extract money from players, because especially whales will try to be the best. Now, I wanted to bring this up because this is really the last thing that they really talked about, and it was the new epic invasion for Thanos, and I got pissed off as soon as I saw this. Like, I got pissed off. I'm gonna be honest with you. I I got totally pissed off seeing this. If you notice that these new Epic Invasion badges, and kudos to the entirety of the panel here. Kudos to the entirety of the panel. They all called it immediately and said this was stupid. You know, not in so much words, but you can look at the badges and you see the new set effects that are inside here, where it's basically a 2-set effect. Is giving you cooldown at -6%. You can see like the cooldown decrease. It's astrofucking-nomical. Who does this affect the most? Immediately offhand, you guys just gave us this is the problem. Like, you can see, like, this is one of the reasons why I'm like, you guys are really dealing with the junior dev team over here at Marvel Future Revolution, and these guys perfectly called it on the panel. So kudos to them for saying it. But the debuff is to cooldown decrease. That's not something that's like across the board for a lot of the characters. Like, I mean, cooldown decrease is a mechanic that is needed for a lot of characters, but no character more intrinsically tied to cooldown decrease than Doctor Strange. So they immediately give us the benefit of giving us the cooldown, a way to increase our cooldowns and the potentials. They immediately give us the reduction for our main abilities, and then we immediately get some battle badges in here that immediately negatively affects Doctor Strange. Cooldown decrease. This is one of his primary stats. Ultimate gauge recovery is shit. It's trash. So it automatically went out the window. So it's not one of his skills. So we only really have one primary skill for Doctor Strange, and that's cooldown decrease. And you see what they did here.
Like, that is like the best scenario.
It makes no sense whatsoever. Like, this is like, I want to make this clear. This is bullshit. It is pretty much the nullifier for Doctor Strange. You can't, as a Doctor Strange player, there is almost no way for you to run this system.
Obviously, these are all 1 badge. So the 2 badge might be the flip of this or something.
There's like no way for you to run this. Like, you can see, like, he's basically like Wolverthor basically says inside here, like, this is 1 badge, right? So pointing that out is that this is 1 badge. So you can see it's a 1 badge at level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the only thing that we could hope, because basically this puts off limits. It puts this off limits to oh yeah, this was when Wolverthor got Thanos snapped. It puts this badge basically off limits to Doctor Strange. Because if you go in here and you get a 6-set effect where he's at +5 with -12% cooldown decrease,
His Amazon camera.
I don't give a fuck if you get an attack of 12.5%. This is going to be at max, you're basically taking a 12% cooldown decrease and getting a 12% attack bonus. You basically stack a whole nother mystic art skill on him that you're like, yo, this is really a challenge, like, to get around this. Basically, this badge is going to be negated. Now, depending on where you are and how the other the badges look, like, it's going to be interesting. Like Wolverthor brings up, it's going to be interesting. Like, is this going to be a -% to dodge for some of them? Is this going to be a negative to this? But we know that at the very least, battle badge number 1 for the new, the new Divergent Destiny or Mad Titan Thanos, this is pretty much as a negative to Doctor Strange. Like, I mean,
and that's my initial take on it.
12% attack for a cooldown decrease of 12%. I can tell you right now that I could make it work. Because my cooldown decrease is almost at, like, I can get my cooldown decrease up to like 77%. So I can make it work, but I don't feel like a lot of players are going to be able to make that work. So
I think I'll just combine them, like I said, with kind of like
it's just weird. Like, think about Magic players trying to use that. You're really going out on limbs here to make that work. Think about the min-maxing that you're going to be having to do across the board for this. Like, I mean, we basically have one attack stat.
But only halfway there, if you get that.
So now, other than this, they don't really bring up anything else inside the video other than transmutation. That's coming out. They joke around about the transmutation. not being available for not being available for, you know, Magic and stuff like that, which I was like, this is just not a joke.
Okay.
You know,
like
here goes the thing that I'm really like, they get into a conversation here about at the end about this is a game, blah blah. Fuck that bullshit. This is a business deal. And here goes the deal with the business, right? Is that they talk about not addressing things, and you could see inside the chat, people were, I can't show the chat right now, but they were talking in the chat about literally people
have red ones.
not having engagement on certain questions. Like they never brought up the exploitation bug, the rewards for the exploitation bug. They never brought up the point that they lied to us straight out and flat about the transmutation. The transmutation was a flat out lie. In December they said, hey, guess what? We don't have a way to give you guys transmutation for Magic because we got to figure out this, that, or the other, which was bullshit. They were just holding off on transmutation to the release of a new character. That's the truth of the matter. So they lied. So then, like I said, when Indie Sun and, you know, Kiger and King had the boycott stuff going on, they literally went over into the Discord and they had CM Carroll talking about stuff, and CM Carroll was like, oh, we can't address this stuff right now, we'll give you answers. That's almost a month ago. They're still not addressing it. So when we get into these conversations where like, hey, you know, yeah, the dev is hearing you and all this, no, you're not hearing us, and you're telling us and showing you're not hearing us. You basically are having your thumbs up your ass because how hard is it to get answers on these questions? You're lying to us. That's what you're doing. You're lying to us, and this is part of the reason why I say that the boycott was never going to work in Marvel Future Revolution, because this content is basically going to represent a band-aid for the problem. The problem with the game isn't necessarily the content coming out; it's the execution by the development team and the marketing team for the game. They talk about all of this stuff right here. This would have been a perfect time for Danny to say this is what the character is and stuff. Instead, we got to wait for the next session of Chilling with Danny Koo to come in here. Please to God tell me he is not going to have Alice Pac or one of the other devs on here to talk to us about Magic or Wanda or whomever it is. You know, like, I mean, I think we all know it's Wanda. If you're not in the know that it's Wanda at this point, I mean, it would be a big swing if it wasn't her, especially with the hex code, hex bolts, hex spheres and stuff like that or whatever. Hint, motherfuckers. Yeah, she's Scarlet, but she's not, and it came out as red, but you can tell from the other colors behind all the other players, that clearly is not an indicator for that. So it's weird. That's where the video pretty much takes off and ends. So, you know, I did this for you in 22 minutes, but I really want to give you my opinion about this stuff because, to be honest with you, like, you know, no discredit to any of the content creator core people here, but like, circle jerk session, I mean, that's what I felt like. Ultimately, like, we got no answers to things that the community is currently complaining about in the game whatsoever. We didn't get any answers to monetization. We didn't get any answers to core systems again. We didn't get any answers, and they made it seem like we were getting so much new content inside this update. Really not. We're getting one new update inside this game because the Thanos is just a reintroduction of the stuff. The badges are just a new reward system inside there, but that's just the same. The Alliance raid is pretty much all we're getting in terms of that, because think about it this way, the sparring system, there's no ramifications on that. It's just you jumping and sparring and playing around with stuff. So there's no real ramifications to that game mode. The only real addition that's coming from this is essentially the Alliance raid. You get one new piece of PvE content. All of this will swing the moment when they introduce the squad battles, and now you're looking at, but they don't address the main thing, which is this pivotal switch from the single player driven character builder, you know, toon build, to squad toon build. And we don't talk about the monetization. We don't talk about the resource requirements, restrictions from you developing multiple characters. We don't talk about the angle of the increasing power creep that they're introducing by monetizing new things like companions and things like that they keep throwing at us head over heel. We don't talk about so many of the issues that are at the core problem of the game, because here goes the deal, and this is going to be my last thought. Marvel Future Revolution is an interesting game because when you first delve into it, it's an IP title. But it suffers from many of Netmarble's games is that the longer a player, especially a free-to-play player or a mid-tier player, jumps around inside the game, you quickly start to realize how bad the systems are at their foundation. And that is what's driving people out. That's why you constantly see an influx of people and you constantly see people rolling out. That's why the numbers are dwindling, because what's essentially happening inside the game is that there's more people leaving in droves than there are coming in, and the word of mouth about the systems are not refunneling the people that's coming into the game. So essentially now, by adding in all of this new system of alliance raid, you give somebody something more to look at, so the player base might get reinvigorated a little bit, so that way they jump back in, check out this game content mode, but then they realize like, yo man, the amount of time I'm spending inside here to do this content versus the rewards that you guys are giving don't really meet the needs of the community in the game. The one thing I'm really interested to see with tonight's update is what are they going to change the monthly rewards to? That's all I want to see. I want to see what those are, because I think those are going to be largely indicative of whether or not they get the idea about this squad-based building that they have inside here. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. That's what it is. It's content now at this point, because they're not giving us anything really to go on. We're not getting anything addressed. They haven't addressed shit since October. I just used the core system as the barometer for bullshit meter. We haven't had the core system addressed since October. It is the #1 issue inside the game and the #1 feature inside the game that shows you the level of monetization and how deep they want to go into your pockets for this game. And it hasn't been addressed since it was first brought up in October. It is now April and it still's not there. Think about that. Until next time, guys. Peace.